the tracks. Spend all your days running away. Now you gotta watch your back, and that's the facts. You spend so much of your life scheming and trying to get older. Got you wondering why you come around. All you get is cold shoulder. Yeah, you try so hard to cover up your games. You try so hard, hoping that one day something gon' change. You try so ashamed, think something new under the sun. You can't take back them things you already done. No. You blame things that you do on somebody else. No. But they all see is you need help. But still you try so hard to cover up your games.
Hi, my name is Dillon and I'm the Educational Programs Manager at Water First.
Hi, my name is Adrianna and I am the Indigenous School Engagement Coordinator and Instructor at Water First. So at Water First, our youth education programming is for all school-age students from kindergarten to grade 12. And our goal is to bring experiential learning to Indigenous communities. So typically, experiential learning is outside of the classroom, doing things with your hands. So we take traditional ecological knowledge from the community and incorporate that with STEM curriculum. So we're bringing kind of those elements into their communities and introducing tools that they may not have in their schools already.
We offer these programs for the unique learning opportunities they provide to Indigenous youth. We provide opportunities for youth to be on the land. We provide opportunities for them to collaborate with community members to complete projects. And our programs address water challenges in Indigenous communities by giving youth an opportunity to learn important water science concepts and couple it with local ecological knowledge to create a foundation of scientific knowledge that will inspire these youth to pursue careers in water science, to take leadership roles in their community. And ultimately, we want to address the underrepresentation of Indigenous perspectives in the water science field in Canada. Our education programs were developed in close consultation with our Indigenous Advisory Council, and they're designed to meet the wants and needs of our Indigenous community partners.
And our most recent project has feedback from the community members saying, they were impressed by the leadership that the students were showing. We have done educational programming in a lot of different provinces. So we started out in Ontario and we've moved to Quebec. We've done educational programming in Labrador and even in Manitoba.
The best solutions to solve water challenges in Indigenous communities are going to come from the Indigenous communities themselves. This is why youth water science education is so important.
They can take that knowledge and apply it in their future, whether that be a career or maybe just imparting that knowledge to other people, their friends, their children. It's just a stepping stone to increase the interest and the knowledge in water science as a whole.
Hi everybody, my name's Dillon.
I'm Adrianna, yeah. We were just on that video you watched.
That one, yeah, so you know us already. We're here
just to tell you a bit about our programming. But before we get started, we just wanted to acknowledge that the Water First office is on the traditional land of the Petun and the Anishinaabe people, which include the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations. We do have the opportunity to work across Canada. So there are many Indigenous peoples across Turtle Island, as we call it, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to work in all of those different First Nations.
Yeah, and thankful to collaborate with the communities there on fantastic stuff. I want to thank everyone that is watching, that is going to be watching this later. Specifically, I did want to thank the Ontario Trillium Foundation for the support that they provided for some of the program design, and especially COVID adaptations that have had to take place as a result of, well, we're living it, the pandemic. And it's been a really wild ride, as everyone can attest to, but it's been a fun one, and it's led to some really cool new adaptations that we'll be speaking about a little bit more in detail. But I did want to offer that sincere thanks, and thank you to every other foundation and individual who supports the work that we do. It means a lot.
Yeah, and another special thank you to everyone who RSVP'd and sent questions ahead. So we're going to talk to some of those questions that you submitted when you RSVP'd, so thank you for that. And just so you know, this is not our lunch. We will be talking about each one of these things on display a little bit later. So don't think weird of us.
I kind of wish it was our lunch. We're right smack dab in lunchtime. If you're eating, shit out to those eating their lunch. It must be nice. Just kidding. Okay, first question. How many schools do you work with and where? Great question. Big answer. Well, I've personally been to over 30 communities in the schools within those communities, thousands of students in Ontario, Manitoba, Quebec. I know that you've traveled to Labrador for some of the communities that you've worked in.
Yeah, that was a great trip. Yeah, so I've worked with fewer than Dillon since starting with Water First. I worked with about 9 different First Nations and 9 different schools. But each one has been an amazing experience, and just different things to learn from each one.
Yeah, and it's both programs that we were doing on our own, just like with Indigenous School Water Programs, and then also programs that we did in collaboration with some of our other departments, like the Drinking Water Internship and our Environmental Water Programs. So I think we'll have another chance to talk a little bit more about that in the coming questions, though. But yeah, it's been lots of fun.
Yeah, and some of you were wondering, what ages we work with. We typically try to work with every student in the school if possible. So kindergarten up to grade 12 is our range. More recently, we've been working with kind of the grade 5 to 10 range. So that's where a lot of our focus has been in the past year with COVID.
Yeah, and it's been exciting. Some of the programming even recently is we're looking into even developing programs that are providing credits for students that are making that transition from grade 8 to high school, and very exciting stuff in the works. It's been a really fun time in terms of program development and design.
Yeah, it's been one of our goals to kind of get a high school credit while working with us. And so we're collaborating with those Lay First Nation right now on a pilot project that will see our first high school credit. So we're very excited to replicate that after this pilot project.
That actually is a good segue into my question. I don't know if you knew that. Any goals or milestones that we hope to have in our programming? Great question. I don't have a candid, response, but basically it's been a very organic growth that has been in response to both the expanse of our programs as a whole as an organization and from the demand of the communities that we're working with. And as the demand from communities for our programming grows, our ambitions do as well. Would I like to say, yes, we would like to work in every single province in Canada, and that would be fantastic. But we are doing this very honestly, very organically, and it's right now. What is it? The demand for our programming outstrips our available resources. So the more resources that we have at our disposal, both in terms of staff and in terms of all of this stuff, all these learning resources and tools, the more communities that we're going to be able to reach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, that wouldn't be possible without our donors and without our funders. There's some interest in kind of where our funding comes from. We do have provincial and federal supports, and we're very grateful to those supports. But we like having a diverse kind of field of funding because it allows us to create like Dylan was saying, an honest program, a more holistic program by looking at the wants and needs of the individual communities that we work with.
Mhm.
So sometimes those funders can have specific requirements that don't always meet the community needs. So those
Or not fully,
yeah,
you know,
not fully.
like partially. So it's just a way, it's a good way to make sure our programs are comprehensive. As you said, I think I'm just reiterating it. You know, it's so it's really helpful. And again, thanks for everyone that's here today. You're probably going to hear a few more thank yous, so get used to hearing thank you. Next question, people asked about COVID adaptations. Good question, that was fun. We love being in communities, we love traveling, we love going everywhere. It's like so integral to our program. So when we heard that that was no longer going to be an option for the safety of those community members, well, we had to think long and hard about what we were going to do that was going to provide a similar awesome learning experience. And I'm happy to say that we've developed a great digital program that we're able to offer to schools. Some of these schools were expecting us to visit. They were kind of bummed out that it wasn't going to happen, but we provided this in response, and it's gone so well. And you know, you would assume that being in a community would mean that you would be able to foster those super strong relationships better 100% of the time. But honestly, working through these challenges with these amazing teachers and administrative staff has yielded some awesome friendships and great partnerships all the same. And it's led to us having now the ability to provide a hybrid program where some of it's digital, some of it's in person. It's provided us with a lot of cool new tools at our disposal to be able to provide our education programming to communities. So, you know, silver lining, maybe blessing in disguise, however you want to think of it. It's been kind of cool.
Yeah, it's definitely helped our program to evolve into what it is now, and allowing that option for either in-person or digital helps everyone have kind of set their mind at rest, knowing that they're getting what is best for their community.
Yeah, and community response has been great, and the students, you'll see some actually in a little bit, but they've really enjoyed it as well. So next question was how this program started, which is a kind of a big question, and also the importance of the programs to the communities. The program actually came from a initial collaboration and consultation with community members saying that they want whatever Water First is bringing the community to also positively impact the youth, the learners in those communities, the students. So we developed programs that sort of went alongside these other, say, internship programs or programs that allowed for older, I guess, post-secondary interns to be working in their communities. We developed educational programming that helped the students understand what was going on so they could kind of get a foundation of knowledge themselves and be able to share that with the rest of the community. And the community saw that as a priority, so much so that now our programs they're also taking place independently. So we are going to communities just to be able to visit the schools and be able to provide them with a bunch of cool learning resources, training, curriculum linked resources for the teachers and for the staff, and all kinds of great stuff, while also establishing these awesome collaborative relationships.
Yeah, and that just really speaks to the natural organic evolution of our program. So the Indigenous School Waters Program was really birthed out of those larger programs that Water First is known for, like the drinking water internship. Right, the community said, "Hey, we would love for our youth to be involved in this as well," and that's how we started really working with the schools and seeing the importance of introducing water health as a concept to the children in these other communities.
Yeah, and as more communities learn about it, the momentum is growing. And as I said, we're trying to, our schedule in the fall is intimidating, but exciting. We're looking forward to doing some really cool programming in the future and thereafter. But, yeah.
Yeah, just to feed off of that, we've mostly kind of reached out to communities to see if they were interested in our programming, and the response that we were getting was very positive. But in recent months, we've actually had communities reaching out to us, asking us for our programming. And so that really comes with that organic nature of the growth of the program and word of mouth. So we've been working with different communities, and they're happy with what we're bringing to the table and telling other communities about us. And so we're really excited that what we're doing is making an impact in the community. So
yeah, and as a growing program, that's what you'd hope to see, and we're really happy to see that is taking place naturally. So awesome.
Totally. We also wanted to talk a little bit about how we measure the impact of our program. So it's one thing to say, you know, we're in all kinds of different communities and they want us there, but to talk about how we measure it, that has many answers as well. So the main thing that we're doing right now is water quality monitoring. So we're really providing a baseline data study of their water quality. And so that's introducing the idea of water health and the watershed in the community. And that first set of data will allow the teachers and the students to go back and compare and see if there's any changes in their community or in their watershed. So we're just introducing that idea of, you know, the natural world, things will change, and we can monitor that to make sure that it's a healthy change and not a bad change.
Yeah, like as though that change is not coming from a natural source. Essentially allowing the students to feel as though that they are stewards of their water and their lands, and giving them some cool tools by which they can continue to protect the waters that are the water that's important to them. And that's an awesome quality of the program. It also is very student led. Like the students are the ones collecting the data. The students are the ones. Initially, we provide some assistance with the analysis of the data because some of these concepts are pretty new. But then the students take that on, and it's really cool to see them as they learn some of these pretty complicated concepts. It's been super fun. So it's more than just it's hard to put a number on that. And it's also important to understand that these are long-term goals. The students that are getting this foundation of knowledge and this understanding of these different ways that they can protect their land and have a vital role in their community and how their community treats their land is something that is going to have a ripple effect and long-term effects to help, you know, maybe one day prevent the amount of long-term drinking water advisories that we're seeing in Canada at present, or to have a stronger Indigenous voice in how water is protected and governed within Canada. So I think that's another long-term goal and something that we're always trying to consider when we're trying to make the best possible programs.
Yeah, and one way that we measure kind of our successes really speaks to our philosophy of the strands. So building those meaningful relationships and having lasting results. And the way we measure that is by going back and talking to students we have had the opportunity to work with. So we run workshops with them, and we had the opportunity to say, what was your favorite part of our workshop? What do you remember of the content that we shared with you? And kind of getting that feedback from the students themselves has been incredibly important to our development of the program. So what we're creating is really an experience for the students to immerse themselves in environmental water studies. And some students may be more interested than others, but what we're doing is we're reaching those students who are going to be those community leaders. And we're starting young so that they can continue to foster their interest in water health.
Yeah, totally. Hey, Adrianna, what excites you most about the work that we do?
Yeah.
What gets you excited?
Actually, I love this question. It's probably one of my favorite ones from the RSVP questions. My favorite thing and the thing that excites me the most, besides traveling, is working with local traditional ecological knowledge holders, working with elders, getting that opportunity for young minds to meet people that live in the community that can also share a passion for this new concept that we're bringing to the table.
Yeah, you took my answer a little bit, but I can elaborate, yeah. And also collaborating with previous partners and community members and other experts in the design of our programs. It's one thing, we design half of our program in the office and then we take it to the community, they bring the other half, and it's always exciting to see what comes out of it and the kind of cool ideas and the projects that we're able to design with the students. And that's
allowing for true collaboration with the community, which is so important to us to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the community.
It never gets old. Yeah.
So thank you again for submitting those questions ahead of time so that you can get a bit of information on our programming and kind of where we're headed and where we're coming from. Hopefully that answers most of the questions that you guys had. There will be an opportunity later in the webinar. If you had some more questions, just come to mind and we'll be able to answer those live as well.
Yeah. So I think next we're moving on to a demonstration. Cool. So this, you're probably, well, no, you're not. We explained why this is all here. This is some cool learning resources that it's a smattering. It's a bit of a mishmash. You're going to get a little idea, get to see some of the tools that we are using in the fields. The first ones I think are going to be pertaining to the What's in Your Water workshop. I guess you said you wanted to show the workbook because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so we've developed this, especially with our digital programming, to ensure that teachers had the resources to make sure that our lessons were successful. So this workbook gives information for the students to read, but it also has worksheets for them to work through the content. So
I guess there isn't really one workbook either. They're pretty custom. Oh, you're getting the cam. The action cam is coming on. These are pretty customizable. There isn't like just one workbook that we send to every community because the curriculum needs that teachers are looking for are very specific, as well as the needs of the learners. So look at that.
yeah,
How cool
so
is that?
what we've done is we have 5 core lessons in this workbook that we go through with the students, and we've color coded them to make sure that kind of we're all on the same page. And our favorite lesson in this particular workshop series is called What's in Your Water. And that is when the students actually get a chance to go out on the land to a nearby creek or lake and actually take their own measurements.
Yeah, of their choice. And the point is to get to not only do this once, but to do it once and then establish sort of a schedule so the students can see changes and graph those changes and understand the things that are natural, seasonal versus things that could be unnatural. Yeah, and I guess we have a couple of the tools that we use to show the measuring. Some of the things they measure.
Yeah, so some of the things that we use in the classroom, some of you might recognize. So we have this first one. If you have a pool at home, you may recognize this. This is a water testing strip that actually tells us 4 different things. So 4 things that are important not only in your pool, but also in the natural land. So we're looking at pH, alkalinity, and hardness specifically. So again, if you have a pool, you've done this before, you really just dip your testing strip into the water, and then the testing strip will change colors, and you can just use that scale to figure out where your measurements are. So the test itself is pretty easy for students to do, but it's the concepts that we really focus on trying to elaborate for them to understand why those things are important.
Yeah, it's not like we just give them a test strip on day 1 and say, yo, go and measure some water. Like there's like 3 foundational lessons that we have to go through in order for the students to understand these concepts. pH, alkalinity, and hardness can be very complicated to understand if you have never really had the opportunity, or if you just had like a small, you have some idea of it. But yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into even helping students get that foundational knowledge. Another cool tool, equally exciting to the testing strip, if not more, is the multi-parameter reader. This measures things like total dissolved solids, conductivity, water temperature. Bet you didn't know it was important to measure water temperature unless you're a water scientist watching, in which case you did. And we're going to get the action cam on there so you can get some cool readings. The students are also using this device. Looks a little like an EpiPen, doesn't it? We tell the students not to touch the sensor because it's they'll get their oils and whatever lunch residue they might have on their hands on it. Super fun. There's other cool stuff too, though, not just measuring quantifiable data. We have the students, we give them resources like this thing here. What have I got? What is this crazy thing I've got here?
So this is called a plankton net. So it's a very fine mesh net that allows for students to kind of catch living organisms in the water and see what kind of life is in their water bodies around them.
Yeah, another way to understand water health is by studying things like the benthic macroinvertebrates, or like the bugs, I guess, that are in there, to see which ones are present, and it's a good indicator of the water health. And we provide them with like cool microscopes. And these, in the digital programming, these resources are provided to the community so they can take part in all this learning, even if we're not present. But if we're present, we facilitate it as well. If we're present, we also have the students in hip waders and in the water and getting this. It's super, super fun. It's very memorable. Great experiential learning. Yeah, we have this really cool device. It attaches to say your phone or an iPad, and students are able to observe whatever it is that they that they find in their water, and it just creates this very memorable experience. And it provides a mentorship opportunity for the students to work with the younger grades and do similar work, because the younger grades absolutely love that one. So that's a good idea of some of the environmental water testing tools that we have and other things. We have other lessons, of course, as well. Some of them have to do more specifically with drinking water and the water treatment process. I got Greg in the back. He's got an image for you of the filtration process. Oh, look at that. For those of you who haven't seen it, isn't that a beautiful thing? This, of course, is not the one and only water treatment process. There is it's several, and there's much more simplistic ones and much more complicated ones. But this is a good general one to understand the process. You have the intake, you have moving into debris removal, into the rapid mix there with the fan, into something called flocculation, which if you haven't heard that word, you're going to hear it a few more times in a few seconds, into sedimentation, filtration, and chlorination. Pretty exciting stuff. And we have the students not only look at that image, I know that's exciting, but we have the students actually partake in each of these individual steps of the process in order for them to get a better understanding of how it looks. And we're going to show you one of those stages right now. In particular, flocculation. So the students, explain. So in this bottle here, I have some.
Oh, flocculation. Yes, let's explain that word, because that's a big word that's really complicated. So if you think of like a flock of birds, if you picture me throwing down some bread, that flock of birds is going to flock towards that piece of bread, right? So think of it kind of coming together to one spot. That's the word, flocculation.
Yeah, that's perfect. And the way that this is done in some water treatment plants is they use something called a polymer. So I guess I should say, here's our dirty water sample. This consists of bentonite clay and water. Pretty gross, pretty turbid, pretty hard to see through.
Yeah, turbid's another scientific word that Dillon is going to throw at you. If you've never heard the term turbid, think of it as a synonym for dirty or cloudy or murky. So if you hear somebody use the word turbid, it's talking about how dirty the water looks.
Water scientists love complicated synonyms, don't they? So I have here this fancy little this liquid, this fluid called a polymer. Now a polymer is it's a sort of like a macromolecule. It's a big, think of it as a molecule that's just repeating itself in a huge ladder, a big sticky ladder that when I put it in here, it's going, and as I spin this bottle around, it's going to pick up all of that clay and wrap it into a big ball or a flock. Hence the term flocculation. When it settles, we call that process sedimentation. Sometimes it settles on the bottom, sometimes it flows to the top, and it makes it a lot easy for it to be removed from the water. Oh, I need my funnel. Okay, I'm just gonna, if I get some polymer on the table, here, I got an idea. There you go. See? Now, John.
Trying to get a close-up.
I'm not going to get polymer on our fancy table here. In a water treatment plant, if you do spill the polymer, they usually make the most recent hire clean it up because it takes forever. This stuff is long and stringy and sticky, and I did a good job though, by the looks of it.
You don't have to clean up a mess. That's great.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so now that I've got this polymer in here, I'm going to just give it a swirl. If you do it too quickly, you might actually break those ladders, those chains. And we're hopefully going to see some changes here occurring in this water. So let me just get it maybe a little bit more of a stir here. Okay. This is always the tense part. We're wondering, did it work? Did it not? Does he know what he's talking about? So you're starting to see, hopefully if the lighting is good enough, some action happening here. We have probably some backlighting.
Maybe I'll put it back.
Yeah. I think there's some backlighting there. So hopefully you're starting to see some bubbles. Let me see if I can get this lighting even better. Sorry for getting a little bit of motion sickness. So we're totally starting to see some flocculation occurring. If you can't quite see those coagulants forming, those globules, or whatever gross word you choose to describe it forming, they are in fact forming, and the top's starting to become clear. And as we sit and continue this conversation, you will see it become continually more clear. as we go. It's actually really starting to come together there now. So you have to imagine it's pretty fun when students get to engage with some of these tools for the first time and get to actually manually do this process. Of course, this isn't an exact example of how it would take place within a water treatment plant, but it's a great way to introduce students to the concepts and get them to get to play with it themselves and it's a good way for them to remember the experience. And it leads to great conversations when they tour their local water treatment plant and they know a lot about the process and they know some of the fancier aspects of it.
So that's just a quick demonstration of a couple of concepts that we introduced during our programming. So just a little taste. If you want to see more, you're just going to have to register for some of our programming and see it live and in action.
Yeah, and one lucky viewer today, at one point during this video, there was one frame of a fish. If you saw that fish, you tell us the time and we will send you this bottle of this flocculation demonstration. It'll be all yours. It's almost like a lava lamp. You'll love it.
Dream come true for some lucky viewer.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. Do you want to introduce the quiz?
Oh yeah, so what we've done is, we mentioned earlier, one of the ways that we kind of measure our successes is we go and talk to students who have done our programming before. So we took the opportunity to ask a couple of students from Beausoleil First Nation to answer some questions for you. So we'd like to challenge you in a game similar to Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? So we're asking you, are you smarter than a Water First student scientist? We're going to ask you a couple of questions, all concepts that we have mentioned throughout the lunch hour, including our demonstrations, and we'll see what your knowledge is of water science.
Starting to clear up now. See?
So this image that you're seeing is just, it's kind of a review game that we like to play at the end of our program. So, our first question that we're going to ask you.
So what are the different water quality parameters you learned that you can measure to understand the water better?
You can check the pH level.
pH, yeah. Any others that you remember?
Alkalinity,
Oh yeah, alkalinity is a good one.
hardness,
Hardness,
Conductivity.
yes. Do they have these answers? Did you seriously just get conductivity? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's back to us. That's Aiden, Hunter, Landon, and Emma, 4 awesome students. And this was done like impromptu months after we visited. So couldn't have it more candid if we tried. And it was first of all, it was a blast seeing them again, but also that was pretty good, eh? Pretty good. We have some more. We have another question. We have a few more.
So hopefully you had the chance to read that question and think about it before they told you the answers. All
Oh,
right.
I said this. If you're paying attention, you'll know this one.
If you were paying attention during the demonstration, you know the answer to this. Are you smarter than a Water First student scientist? What does TDS stand for?
All right. Next question. This one's very specific.
Okay.
What does TDS stand for?
total dissolved solids.
Boom. If someone dumped their coffee grounds, their coffee into the water, and then you measured the TDS, would it be higher or lower?
Higher. Yeah, it would be higher.
Correct.
Yeah, so again, it was great to hear their learning when we're asking these kind of random questions.
And I bet if I asked them what unit of measurement, they would have also said parts per million, but we didn't ask them that. What do we got? What do we got next? We have another one. Hopefully everyone has been trying themselves to get these. Salt runoff from roads is likely to increase which water quality indicator?
The salt runoff is one type of pollution, and it's likely to increase which water quality indicator?
Conductivity.
Conductivity. Just all put that out.
Thank you.
Of course, it does affect other ones as well, but that was the one that we really hammered home when we were talking about road salts, and we were talking about it in our police. It doesn't matter. Yeah, that was awesome that they got that.
Yeah. I think we have one more question that we're gonna ask you as well as the students, and then we'll see if you are smarter than a water first student scientist. All right. Do you think about water in a different way?
Do you think about water more or in a different way?
Yes, we really do.
It's weird because I've like never heard those terms or anything about water before, so I was like really new to it.
And then sometimes I question when I'm drinking like a cup of water and like I want to like test it out. And it's like what's inside it, but it's perfectly fine. And we're just like so curious about what's in our water still after this little program.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your time.
You too, Emma.
See you later.
Later.
That was awesome.
And it's one thing, first of all, that was awesome of them to do that. But also it's one thing for them to be able to rhyme off some really cool technical terms. It's another thing for those students to be able to take one of these kits and go out in the field and be able to do the monthly water testing and understand each parameter and understand what it is they're measuring and also the value in it. And for them to be able to make connections between the concepts that are within here and also with the teachings of local ecological knowledge experts that are also providing them with other contexts and other ways for them to view water health. The combination, it creates a very holistic understanding of water health, which is hard to answer in like a yes or no question or in a single term, but it was still really awesome, and it was just really cool to hear them to connect with them again and have those conversations.
So, and as you mentioned, we kind of give the school each one of these kits, and into the live questions, we actually have a question about the kit. So what is the approximate cost of a single kit with the different components per student?
Do you know? I know. Per student? Well, it sort of depends on how it is that we, one of these, okay, quick answer. One of these kits is about $465, and it's through an awesome, another organization called Water Rangers, who has been super great to work with. And they provide all sorts of cool hands-on learning resources. However, if you want to, for every student to have some of the devices inside, sometimes the cost can become a little bit more. It's all a matter of the amount of students in the classroom and the amount that we're going to be engaging with the particular program.
Yeah, we have another question about cost. Just wondering about what the cost would be for one of our visits to the school, not including the travel costs. And do we stay in the community for a few days to implement our program? So yes, we do. We do a minimum of 5 days. We do a full week when we travel to a community, and our virtual digital programming is the same. It's a minimum of 5 workshops. Oftentimes we extend depending on the interest level and what the community is really looking for.
Yeah, and it can be up to 3 weeks and 3 different visits. If the students are taking the lead on like a watershed conservation action in their community, the planning and then providing them with the education and training they need to do that, and then actually executing that and reflecting on that learning can take multiple visits. Now, this isn't all done in isolation. We plan strategically so we can be in multiple communities per visit to try to make efficiently do travel costs, and that's always on our minds, is trying to be as efficient and reach as many communities with our budgets as possible. But yeah.
So that actually feeds into another question that we got is, why do we go to the same community multiple times? And the reason for that is depending on the program that we're running. So we have more than one program. So our Growing Roots program is designed to have us visit 3 times, and that is to scaffold the information to make sure that the students are really retaining that content that we're sharing with them, and they can put it into practice. Okay, so our main goal is for the students to retain that information, and scaffolding. If you're an educator, you understand that, you know, it's like a ladder. You're going to climb a little bit at a time, and so that's the benefit of returning to the same community, is to make sure that that information is being built upon.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of something to add, but I think you nailed it. You nailed it right there. And it's something that to us, it's just something for just a meaningful collaboration. You want to have teachers, staff, and administrative staff that are happy to have you back and are wanting to continue to collaborate and strengthen that relationship. And the better you get to know a community, the better the custom programming becomes. So that's another important piece.
To feed onto that, we have another question that says, how would you say your work is contributing to the country's challenge to ensure clean drinking water on First Nation reserves continues to have issues on this front? So
I think I touched on this a little bit before, but it really speaks to, I think, the whole purpose of our Indigenous School Water Programs programming. It's an opportunity for students to engage in experiential learning and project-based learning that's benefiting their community needs, but also providing them with a foundation of knowledge that they can take with them and apply in professional contexts and perhaps secondary and post-secondary pursuits that will hopefully lead to the prevention of things like long-term drinking water advisories happening in their lands, perhaps challenges in the capacity of skilled workers within those communities to have those students pursue these jobs, and essentially to have a stronger Indigenous voice to advocate for water governance, proper water governance, and better water governance, I guess, in Canada.
Yeah, so our program specifically, being the Indigenous School Waters Programs, we are working proactively rather than reactively to drinking water advisories. So we're trying to encourage the next generation to really understand and take an interest in their water health and to know that it's going to be safe.
I know that I've probably gone over, but I will just also add that it's super beneficial when we were collaborating with our other departments where they're getting to see other mentors in their community that are also undergoing internship roles and jobs in their community, and getting to see what that direct path looks like. So if they want to take on this themselves, they want to move forward, they know exactly how to do it. And that's something that we're always aspiring to make stronger and stronger every day with our programs. And through the consultation with our advisory council, with students, teachers, administrative staff, community members, and elders, I'm happier every day. Like the changes and the adaptations we've made and where we're going next, it's just got me so excited.
So I think we're just about up for time. So that was the last question that came through anyways for the live Q&A. So thank you again for participating and asking us those questions. If you do have any more questions, you can email Sam Murray at waterfirst.ngo and she will find the right person to answer that question for you.
Yeah, and you can also feel free if you have any, if you want to learn more about educational resources that you could be making use of, you can always check our website or reach out to us and we'd be happy to have those conversations. And it's been a real pleasure getting to talk at you guys for a while. And but that being said, I'm looking forward to any conversations that you'd like to have with either of us, and really excited to reach out to everyone today. And thank you again, everyone, for the support that you provided or any upcoming support you would like to provide. It means the world to us. So thank you.
Yeah, you are making a difference. And we really appreciate it. So thank you. All right.
Move it, baby. Move it, baby. Move it, body.